Executive state of mind.
Executive state of mind.
Executive state of mind.
Hi everyone, welcome to Executive State of Mind, a show that dives deep into the tech world with leading industry figures. My name is Tomer Amitai. I'm the CFO for Untitled Intelligence, a global leader in digital intent marketing. We'll talk today about thriving in uncertain tech landscapes, and I'm very pleased to have with me today Roy Elshten, Managing Partner, COO, and CFO at Team8. We'll explore strategies for driving growth and creating shareholder value amidst uncertainty. We'll examine the evolving role of the CFO and the office of the CFO in this uncertain time, and we'll discuss emerging trends shaping the tech industry. Great to have you with me.
Great to be here, Tomer. So great to be with you always, and in this podcast in particular.
Indeed, we've known each other for so many years now, and I was always curious to dive into some areas such as the ones we're about to dive into with you. Never had the chance.
So that's the time. That's the time. Everything is game. Whatever happens in the podcast stays in the podcast. Feel free.
Amazing. So let's get started.
Let's do it.
It's been quite an amazing 2 years or 2.5 years, I would say, in the economic cycle and specifically in the tech world. How are you sort of analyzing the global macro environment right now? What are sort of the key elements at play?
Yeah. So the way I define it is that we are at the verge of one of the biggest economic experiments in the new era. So we are now ending approximately 15 years of almost zero interest environment. So we had two attempts during these 15 years of taking interest up, and then there was a recession and interest went back to 1%, 0 to 1%. But basically, think about it, we are old, but there are people out there. I don't know, but for the sake of the discussion, right? But there are people out there, they don't even know the concept of money, which, cost money, right? How much is it to take a loan? How much it cost me how much do I get when I put the money in the bank? There are people, young ones, that think that, the number is zero. You can take as much money as you want, as long as someone gives it to you, and you put money in the bank and both cost zero. Now, I think this era is over. And the reason for that is that we're experiencing now the highest inflation over the past 30 years. And we see a very, very aggressive tightening of interest done by central banks, because that's what they need to do. And I think that that's the main phenomena that I see as the main driver in the world. And we will need to get accumulated to highest interest rate that will affect everything. Will affect the cost of borrowing, will affect the alternative investments of people that can do without any risk, right? So all this world that, I guess both you and I remember from many years ago is back, and is back big time.
Let me ask you a $1 billion question, if I may.
Please do.
Where do you think we are in the cycle right now, in terms of where capital markets or markets generally are heading? Just
to be totally honest, it's no one has a crystal ball. It's a hard question to answer. I'll start with my hopes, right? I do hope that if, the banks will be cautious enough and will be tuned to not go into a big recession right now, we may be out of the cycle in, let's say, 6 to 12 months. That's my optimistic view. I don't think it will happen before. But I do think that the fundamentals, and I guess that we'll get to this, right, of technology and how we set up to go out of the cycle when it comes. So even if it comes in 2 years, I think the fundamentals are there, and I'm in a long position. I'm bullish on the macroeconomics in general.
Yeah, and as far as the macroeconomic trends, inflation, interest rates, seems like we've gotten to the peak, and that the monetary policy globally is started to actually curve the inflation down, but too early to declare victory, although markets, I think, might already embedding some of that into sort of future projections, which is probably reflected also in what we're seeing in markets in the last couple of months, I would say. So bottom line, we might be turning the corner, but very, very carefully. and still lots of uncertainty at play.
I vote yes.
Many people talk about that might be, the most important trend we've seen over the last, again, 12 to 18 months in the tech sector, of a massive shift between growth to value investment. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you've maybe sort of embedded it into your thinking of companies, investments, your own portfolio companies in the last period?
So I don't feel there, at least from my perspective, I was born and raised in schools that always praise profitability and KPIs, etc. So I'm happy to say that the world joined the concept, but this concept is not foreign to us. So I do agree with you that now there is a lot more of appetite to hear my boring presentations about, KPIs. But unlike what happened, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, even 5 or 10 years ago, when people wanted to learn how to measure a company in general, I think what happened, what changed, is that now KPI became an operating measure. So people are more open to manage their companies based on KPI and not only to measure their companies. And it sounds like a small differentiation, but it is big. I see it in KPIs. I see it in the way people look at, the people that are working with them. So there is a notion that always there, right? Have only the right people, have, quality people to the job. But having only the right people to the job and make sure that you're not making any mistakes and just trying things just to see if it works or not, I think that's also a big change. And I would also mention cash probably as a third thing that is coming back into the table. We started with that and we're coming back to that. Cash in terms of thinking about profitability starting at day one, not necessarily being profitable, but thinking about the route for profitability is something new that I see today. I see a lot of discussions, you probably hear it as well, about burn rate and about runway. And this is a big thing that's happening. And also a better use of cash. Today there are discussions about what is the interest rate, how do we hedge against currency fluctuations. So all these things are part of the new, as you call it, the value world, right?
Yeah.
Where do you see it?
Yeah, so to us in Untitled Intelligence, it was quite a ride in the last 12 to 8 months, going exactly to that point of the shift from growth somewhat to value, and finding, I would say, maybe a little bit of a better balance, which sort of many companies are still struggling to find. 2021 coming out of 2020. Where we were back then, growth was the name of the game.
True.
Profitability, take it down as much as possible. Reinvest into the business. We're a profitable company. We've been reinvesting all the years. We doubled down on investment in 2021. And the thinking was really driving growth at all cost. And then I remember it very vividly. Again, the shift from 21 to 22 and that sudden change in Q1 of 2022 made us go back to the drawing board. We understood something is changing and we need to quickly adapt. And we did exactly that. We focused on our cost base. We focused on cash. We focused on technology. We focused on organizational efficiency. We focused also on strengthening the fundamentals of our business. And we also worked very hard, at least in H1 of 2022, in diversifying it very much. And it played very much to our favor later in 2022. Actually, it is serving us still in 2023 when we really see things come together very nicely. A more diversified business, leveraging on the prevailing consumer trends. We're very much, sort of riding on emerging consumer trends. So that's what we did very nicely in 2022, leveraging on our partner relationships and on the multi-vertical approach that we have. And combined with that, we were very, very careful and prudent in managing costs and driving more efficiency and applying, more scale out of our technology, which played in our favor. So we were able to still maintain growth, quite nice growth top line, while also improving our profit margins through 22, going into 23, a great place to be at end of period, I must say, and to this day, very day.
Sounds amazing. Sounds also like the golden era for CFOs, right?
Oh, yeah.
We are being listened to, right? We're talking about profitability, about, At the same time, I will say that, we saw very extreme cases out there, 2021 and before, when people actually spent more money than, what they got back. So we saw very, extreme phenomena, and I'm happy that things are going back to basics, back to normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you support and nurture entrepreneurial talent within your ecosystem? And maybe what kind of things are you specifically looking for the founders that you accompany along the journey?
It's a good question. So first of all, it's needless to mention that the founders of our companies are the most essential asset that we have. So how do you differentiate between a good manager, which, knows how to manage a system, how to set up a process, how to manage people, how to tell them what to do, versus a big leader? So, the difference between a good manager and a good leader is exactly what we're looking for. So both of them will be probably good. But when you're inventing something from scratch, something that was not there, was not even existed, you need someone that, people will look up for, people will follow, that will able to draw the dream for them and make them, create it. So that's, I don't know if it's helpful or not, but that's kind of where our head is when we're looking for the right fit for teammate.
I attribute a lot when I interview people and recruit people, when I look at enterprises, at the end of the day, it's all about people. It's about people and it's about leadership. So to me, the ability to lead and to have people follow you in light of the vision you articulate and how you tell it, by the way, storytelling is very important in that regard, is a critical element of entrepreneurship. But tell me, did things change in the way you look at entrepreneurs and founders over the last, again, year and a half with, the uncertainty that we're now all facing?
So I would say, I hope to say that we haven't changed. So we're looking for the same things. The market has changed. Because in 2021, and that's actually a very, very interesting question, because in 2021, money was relatively easy to get. So people with a good idea, not even with, PowerPoint, were able to get secondaries, right? I think the entrepreneurs thought it doesn't matter who gives you the money. All money, I heard these sentences, right? Money smells the same. You heard it as I did. I think that today what you see is that there is a different smell for money. I think smart money is different than not smart money. I think that your mentors and the people that are going along the way with you are super important and super crucial. And I think that today, I feel that people are getting more the grasp of this concept and have a deeper understanding of what's the difference between a good partner, a good mentor, and someone that is just, not smart money.
Yeah. But we always say, and we've been saying it for many years now, that disruption is moving, exponentially. The pace of change keeps accelerating more and more. What in your mind are some of the emerging trends or technologies that you find particularly exciting?
So that's a tricky question, because you asked me now, May 2023, and people can listen to it in like half a year or 2 years and see if I were right, but I'll take...
I'm writing it down, by the way.
So I'll start with the obvious, AI. AI is here to stay. It's only in the verge of it, so we don't know exactly where this is going, but we know one thing. The world is becoming smarter, and people will be able to have the ability to do more with their time. So that's something that we know. We don't know exactly the path, but we know the vector. We know the direction. So that's number one. Number two, cloud. We do believe that cloud hasn't finished the run yet, and we still have a way to go in the move for the cloud, and we'll see more interconnectivity between people, between companies, and that will be another trend, technological trend that will impact our life. Number three will probably be something around the computing infrastructure. So there is something about the computing infrastructure that, again, we can't tell exactly where the world will be in 5 years, but it will be somewhere between augmented reality, maybe even chips, in your brain, in your eye. I don't know. I don't want to take you to a frightening place, but I think computing infrastructure is a big thing. And maybe if you'll give me one more to take, it will be maybe something about sizes of companies. Because what we see is that the work that was able to be done by 100 people 25 years ago, today with all the things that I just discussed, is able to be done by one. So we expect the world to have more of single entrepreneurs building companies, smaller companies doing the same work. So this is another trend that we're looking for and thinking what to do around it.
Mm-hmm. Let's go back a second to the conversational AI that everybody's speaking about. Quick question: more of a risk or more of an opportunity?
Definitely an opportunity. First of all, risk is something that, by definition, definitely if you are a VC guy, risk is an opportunity by definition. So that we start from there. But I'm not underestimating the risks in AI. I think that there are many discussions on this. And you know what? I'm not even sure if the biggest risk is if people fall in love in an AI or if the AI will take over the world. Maybe it will be things that are more trivial, like AI is being able to identify people that, it can change their mind. So things like that are big risks. And I'm happy that there are discussions on them because I think they have to be mitigated one way or another. But then going back to the first part of the question, huge opportunity. Mm-hmm. If we were afraid from, the big industrial change at the beginning of the 20th century or the internet or the cellular or whatever, we weren't here. So we weren't in the same place, So that's something that we need to embrace and think what to do with.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I think a massive opportunity.
For you as well as a company? Where do you see the opportunities for natural intelligence?
Oh, in many ways. Many ways. And actually, we're doing already work within the company for quite a few months now to identify all the opportunities, and we can't get enough of them. It's in improving, work processes, in enhancing our content capabilities. It's in creating content. It's even in the dev worlds, in the development worlds, right? It's doing wonders, saving, time, energy and cost, obviously, but also improving the way we do business. Nevertheless, again, we're in the internet marketing space, so that would obviously be impacted by conversational AI. So we're also considering, and I think it's our obligation to see what the risks are on us as a company. So we're keeping both sides of the equation very, very much under focus.
Sign me up for a coffee next week. I want to learn more.
As an industry leader and an expert, when you're seeing many entrepreneurs, what advice do you have for tech entrepreneurs and executives that are looking to navigate these times we're in right now and in the sort of the foreseeable future?
I'm sorry in advance for being corny and being use worn up phrases, but it's true. Never let a good crisis go to waste, right? So when you have a crisis and it goes back to what we said about risk and opportunity, it's a huge opportunity. It's an opportunity to reevaluate where you are. It's an opportunity to look at your strategy. It's an opportunity to think forward and see where your profitability is going to come from. What's your plans for the next few years, the next decades, whatever. And that's, I think, the biggest thing that entrepreneurs needs to do in these times. I have to say that I'm actually surprised to see how many are doing that. So it didn't go without notice. People are doing it. So at least the ones I look at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So obviously the tech scene in Israel has been flourishing, exploding, whichever way you want to describe it, over the past, a few decades. In many ways, we've sort of been more advanced in anticipating and in leveraging on global trends. And in many cases, we've ridden on global trends. It seems that in the last, I'd say, year or so, we are experiencing some unique challenges at play in the Israeli tech landscape. Maybe share a little bit about how you see things evolve there in Israel.
I'm very bullish on Israel. So I'm in a long position. I think Israel has the right fundamentals. I think Israel has the right talent. However, I would say two things that are very, very important. One, it is coming from many of our investors. We have most of our investors are actually non-Israelis. And investors are looking for stability. They are looking for consistency, and one of the ways to make sure that this is being achieved are governmental institutions that are, valid, they are stable, that have the way to forecast what will happen with them. I think this is something that we need to fix and fix fast and make sure that we have clarity. I think bigger people than I am are dealing with that, but it is important, and it's not a false alarm. It's here, and we need to deal with that. One of the things I learned in my life in big companies, in corporations, is that if you can do one huge mistake, is to talk always about how you allocate the cake. If the discussion will be how to slice and dice the cake, that's your straight way to fall. The only discussion a company and a country, in my opinion, that needs to hold is how do I make the cake bigger? If you are not talking about how you are making the cake bigger, meaning how do you grow the company, how do you grow the country, how do you invest in whatever you need to in order to make the future brighter, if that's not the discussion, by definition, almost always, the cake will get smaller and will shrink, and then the fights over the allocation will just get more extreme. And that's the wrong way. So if I have only one advice to whoever is keep discussing how do we make the cake bigger. I don't hear enough these kind of discussions right now in Israel, and I'm concerned by that.
Yeah. Completely different topic. You and I have been in finance for many years, growing through the ranks till, the position of CFO that we've been, sort of carrying out for quite a few years now. How did you see the role of the CFO evolve over the past, few years?
Yeah, I think it's pretty evident. It's a big change, right? So CFO started as no offense, right? But
Not taken.
not taken, exactly. Not whoever. But it started like a technical tool more than anything else, something that needs to protect the company rather than assist the company. Just, crunching the numbers, counting the beans, whatever you want to call it, all these phrases. And I think what I see, not sure if it's the last few years, the last few decades, whatever, I see it very vividly. I saw it very, very vividly in companies I consulted to, and definitely in Checkpoint, and today also in Team8, is that the role is becoming a lot more strategic, is becoming a lot more database. So one of the things in this role is that your ability to analyze the data is providing you the ability to really be the wingman, can I say it, of the CEO. But if you are a good CFO, I think you are able to provide very good insights, very good directions to the company, if not to decide what is the direction, at least to fine-tune the direction. And that's a very, very valuable position to be at. How do you look at it?
I think we have a growing obligation and role to play, again, as a compass of management, financially, economically, but also strategically in navigating the ship, which is the company we serve. And that requires a completely different set of capabilities than what was required, 10 or 20 years ago from the CFO.
Definitely.
Good. So we're almost at the end of our amazing conversation. And I've got a couple of very quick tidbits question for you. All right. So you ready?
Let's do it.
1 or 2 words, 10 seconds. All right.
Wow. I didn't know it's 10 seconds. Let's go.
All right. So what's your favorite industry buzzword?
Generative AI.
What buzzwords do you find overrated or annoying?
Easy. Generative AI.
You forgot about conversational. You forgot the conversational.
I can't hear it anymore.
If you could have had a conversation with any influential figure in the tech industry, past or present, who would it be and what would you ask them?
I would definitely go, just because I'm in a festive mood, Elon Musk for sure. It's going to be fun.
What would you have asked him?
The thing is that it doesn't matter. I would just sit there and see what. It's like Forrest Gump, right? You don't know what candy we will find in the jar.
If you could have had a superpower related to technology, what would it be and how would you use it?
The only answer possible, right? Looking into future, easy,
that's
right? Easy.
Such a CFO.
Time machine, something like that.
Well, that's exactly right. I thought about the answer to this kind of. It's exactly that.
Of course, it's easy.
1 year. You don't need more than that. 1 year into the future.
That's it.
Listen, it's been a great pleasure
Same here.
having you on our podcast.
Same here.
I've profoundly enjoyed our conversation.
And we'll continue with a beer downstairs, so offline.
For sure.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Executive state of mind.
Executive state of mind.
Executive state of mind.